I'd like to welcome everyone to our Tuesday, July 23rd, 2019 Board of Education meeting. If I could have everyone rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Can I slowly move the agenda table, please? Moved by Dr. White, seconded by Mr. Swickey. Any comments, corrections, additions, deletions to the agenda? Seeing none, all is in favor of the agenda? That passes 7-0. Moving on to item 1.05, Board of Education recognition. This was a surprise when it came across my desk. Mr. Maloney, for your Board Excellence Award, presented by the New York State School Board's Board University Learning for Leaders. And Mr. Maloney is presented a certificate for his leadership and development opportunities totaling 150 points. Congratulations, Mr. Maloney. Moving on, item 2.01, staffing. Can I somebody move the staffing to the table, please? Moved by Mr. Valicente, seconded by Mr. Swickey. Any comments, questions, concerns on staffing? Seeing none, all those in favor? That passes 7-0. Mr. Stutzman.
Yes. Tonight we would like to introduce our new principal at Westridge, Shannon Howard. Shannon's been in education for the past 18 years, serving as an elementary teacher, grades 1 through 5. Principal, grades pre-K to 8. Oh, yes. Okay, thank you. Assistant principal, grades pre-K to 12, and a special education coordinator, grades K-12 and transition. Most recently, Shannon has served as an assistant principal at Long Ridge for 5 years, a special education coordinator for 2 years, and assistant principal at Westridge for the past 2 years. Shannon currently serves as the district's Community Partnership and Family Engagement Outreach Committee, the district's Culturally Responsive Education Leadership Team, and the district's Science Leadership Team. She is a Leader in Me training facilitator for the district and assists in heading up the Leader in Me process for all 11 elementary schools within Greece. Shannon is currently completing her EDD in K-12 education leadership at the Warner School within the University of Rochester. Her dissertation focuses on meeting the social emotional learning needs of male students, grades pre-K to 2. Shannon plans to graduate in May of 2020. Lastly, she is the mother of 3 children, her daughter Shane, who just graduated from RIT, her son Dylan, who attends MCC, and her youngest son Aiden, who will be a sophomore in Webster this upcoming school year. 2 of them are in the audience with her tonight. Shannon says that it was great enthusiasm that she begins her new position. We are very happy to have Shannon move into the role of elementary principal and are confident of the positive impact that she will have on the Westridge School and community. Congratulations, Shannon.
Shannon, if I could have you and Dr. Payne and Superintendent Groutman get together for a little picture. Caught you off guard, didn't I, Laurel?
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
She is. She's so warm and fuzzy.
Shannon.
No, probably not going to happen. I wouldn't bet on that. Moving on, item 2.02, tenure. Can I certainly move the tenure recommendations to the table, please? Moved by Mr. Valicente, seconded by Mr. Maloney. Any comments, questions, or concerns on the tenure recommendations? Seeing none, all is in favor. That passes 7-0. Mr. Stutzman, you're on again.
Yes, we have 2 of our tenure recipients with us this evening. The first individual is Lenore D'Arpino. Would you please stand, sure. Lenore?
Awesome.
Or not.
No show.
All right, moving on.
Congratulations.
Congratulations, Lenore.
No tenure.
And the second one is Marissa Armelli. Hi, Marissa. Marissa Armelli graduated with a bachelor's degree in both marketing and economics from SUNY Fredonia. She earned her master's degree in business marketing from Nazareth College. Prior to teaching in Greece, Marissa taught at both the Palmyra Macedon High School and the Williamson High School. Her favorite part of the job is getting to inspire students, all while teaching about topics she is passionate about. She is looking forward to helping to build enrollment in the business program in Greece. Outside of the workday, Marissa spends most of her time with her family. She has a husband and a 2-year-old son and another son on the way. Congratulations, Marissa.
Congratulations. Moving on, can I somebody move the following resolution, please? Guest retirement. Be it resolved, the Board of Education of Greece Central School District approves the retiree health contribution for guest employees. Moved by Vice President Moore, seconded by Mr. Valicente. Any comments, questions, or concerns on that? Seeing none, all those in favor? That passes 7-0. Thank you. Moving on to item 4.01, the Reimagine Greece Capital Project Update. Superintendent Groutman.
Yes, I'm going to actually have Romeo do the introductions. We have folks from Bergman and campus here tonight to give us an update in terms of our transportation and support facilities, where we are in the project, and just some basic information. So we thought it would be nice to have the folks come so that we can actually have a face with a name as we begin this exciting project. So I'll turn it right over to Romeo.
Actually, Superintendent has covered most of it. That is going to be, we're going to have the teams introduce themselves, but they'll cover introductions, give a brief overview of what we've been able to complete to date, a brief review of what the building and the layout might look like, and then next steps and timeline. So just to bring everybody up to date, put faces to names, and then we'll be coming back on a quarterly basis, as we have said, with budget information and more detailed information for the board as we move Reimagine Greece forward. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, and good evening. Just to do some introductions for the team. I am Mark Esposito, Vice President, Project Executive, Campus Construction Management Group. Good back here to see you guys again. We are very happy to be here. I'm going to let George introduce the rest of our team and go through that.
Thanks for having me. My name is George Spinaris. I'm a Senior Project Manager for campus. I'll be running this project for you. Just a little bit about my background. I'm a registered architect. I've got a master's degree in construction management. I've been working in the construction industry for about 30 years, 20 of which have been in K through 12 projects. So I'm very fortunate to be here to actually build a new building for you. It's not often that we get to build a new building, so I'm very excited about it. Dave Spitali will be my senior field manager. He has about 25, 30 years of experience as well. Melanie Gallo will be our administrator. She's one of the best. She's been working in the industry for about 25 years as well. So we have a lot of senior people here, which I don't want to call myself a senior, but it seems to be that way. John Rindisi is our chief estimator, and he will be working with us through SDs, schematic design, design development phase, and construction documents, putting together the estimates for the project.
So as construction managers on the project, we'll be here from day one as pre-construction, working on budget and schedule, going through this. As we gear up for the construction of the projects, we help put together the project packages for contractors and then manage that process from the start of construction right through closeout and final cost reports.
And again, thank you for having us. My name is Valerie Christensen. I'm an architect and project manager and your principal for your project here for the design team, working in partnership here with Campus Construction. We're delighted to be working with this team. We've been working together over the years, and very happy to be here working on your new exciting project for the transportation facility. Laura Cooney is your job captain and another senior architect in our firm. So we're bringing you our very best experienced people to work on this important project. Tim Burke is our lead architect who's been out here meeting with you folks throughout the programming phase. Danielle Rupert, another project architect who's leading our team internally with all of our disciplines for collaboration. Andy Hart is our longtime civil and site and landscape architect with Bergman Architects and Engineers. Michelle Summerman is our mechanical engineer lead for you. Mike Niddle is our electrical engineer. And leading the environmental team is Ari Sharamanatef, if I said that correct. So to just give you a little overview of the process that projects go through, if some of you have been through construction projects, some of you may not. Oh, sorry. The typical project, and this is our project here with you, has multiple phases of design, so that each step of the way, we're making decisions at broad levels that are vetted and verified and coordinated with you. And then we move on to the next level where more detailed aspects of the project are defined and verified and established. So the different phases of that project, the first step would be schematic design, which takes your project program, the spaces, the site requirements, and establishes a schematic layout for all of that. The next step in the project process we call design development, which is exactly that. It develops the schematic approach with more of how it's going to be built, more of what it's going to look like both inside and out and throughout the site, and how it faces the community. Once that phase is accepted, we move on to construction documents. And those are the documents and the specifications that are required to build the project. That's the end of the phase where the project gets sent to the State Education Department for the building application, the project approval, and building permit. Then we can go into bidding, which campus construction will execute. And then after a successful bid and award period, we go into construction. And we're with you as a team, architects and construction manager, throughout that entire process. So right now, we have made our way through the schematic design phase. And that was a step where there were ample meetings during the first weeks in programming the building to verify the program work that you had done so much good work on in the prior months leading up to our working with you, verifying every single space on the site, every single space in the building, inventorying your needs and your processes and how you work and utilize every space, so that spaces have been sized correctly for your operations. The site has been sized for your operations in terms of circulation and use, so that you've seen a lot of our design team here working on that phase of the project. We went through the project and created a schematic design report, which included all of those aspects in drawings and in narrative and summary, so that campus construction could prepare a schematic level estimate. And I'll let George speak to that a little bit.
So then the project team pretty much takes the drawings that are generated from the architect, and as a team collectively, we take a look at it and make some assumptions, because again, it's only an SD. So when we take the drawings and we have communication with the architect, we kind of figure out how to build the building. And at this point, the project team completes an estimate at the SD level. We compile all the information and create a report. The report is generated and brought out to the district, so we review our budgets and our numbers to see exactly where we are, a little over, a little under. So basically, we massage actually the design at that point, and have a cursory review of the building itself. So the owner-architect design meetings occur on a weekly basis. So we get together with Bergman and engineers, and we communicate over the design elements to ensure that the process is streamlined and going well. Then we have owner-architect construction manager meetings. These are held every other week, and we get together with the district to, again, go over the subtle nuances of the project to ensure, again, that everything is being designed the way the school or the district intends it to be. And if we have any issues or any pitfalls or any design issues, then we're able to go over them To give you an example, a few days ago, we went to look at 2 different schools, 2 different transportation buildings, and we had a nice field meeting and went out to different sites and, took advantage of other people's or other buildings so that we pretty much ensure that the design is done properly here the way you want it to be. We have monthly meetings that are being planned for expanded owner groups, and we're going to have quarterly updates for presentations to the board. And once we start construction, actually, that's the fun part for me, because then I can show everybody what we're doing, and we take pictures, and it's a nice presentation.
So, perfect segue. So, talking about fun part and pictures, I get to talk about the pictures. So, the building design is just over 64,000 square feet. And that may not mean a lot to you, but it's a big building. And it houses a lot of different departments. In particular, it's going to be, obviously, the transportation garage is a majority of the space, as well as a lot of administrative offices, print shop, central stores, and a large training room as well, too. That's both going to be used by the bus drivers and the district as well, too. So we started out with, the referendum was a single-story building, right? And, but the referendum is a very, very large overview of things. Hard to know exactly how everything hones down when you get into the programming. As Val had mentioned, we right-sized, the building with the needs of the departments, and then also looked at the site at the same time. And we realized that based on both, the needs of the building for the users, as well as the site, needs for all the bus, obviously, parking and the visitor parking and employee parking, which is a lot of parking. And then also the flow of everything. We ended up designing basically a 2-story building. And what it does is it overlaps itself slightly in a 2-story part. And then there's a lower portion, which you're looking at right now. And that is on the north side. So if LADA is the south side of the site, the north side is towards the football field and the Arcadia football field. And that's the side that the garage, transportation garage is on. And so the buses will have all access from that side. That's where all the bus parking is. And actually the bus driver parking is, Arcadia, and then we have some additional parking as well too. So what we did, and I know it's a little hard to see at this scale, but in the upper left corner, Val's gonna point it out, is where all the bus drivers are gonna be coming in that corner, so that they have a direct access. They're not going through the rest of the building. It's very clear. It's right adjacent to all their bus parking and the bus garage. And they have some of that administrative area is down there as well too. And then we also have buildings and grounds on the lower in the dark, the kind of olive green color, and custodial area. So that's the shops, buildings and grounds shops, and also some administrative area. Okay.
Just for orientation,
Oh,
Ladder Road is here,
yes.
and north is to the right.
So then this level is the first floor level is what we're calling it. And this is the main entrance level for all the administrative spaces. So on the south side, as Val had mentioned, that's Ladder Road on the left-hand side. And you'll see there's an entry vestibule and then also an entry canopy. So the entry vestibule on the bottom is where a majority of the visitors and the training room attendees and so forth will be entering. And then there's also another entry for, obviously, visitors and employees to enter for all the other administrative uses. And you'll see here there's a number of departments, as we mentioned. And I'm not going to go through all of them, but you'll see down on the bottom right is, the bottom of the page, that's central stores, again, for ease of access on the site. And then the training room is in the middle with that red color. And that's to accommodate, the large 2 to 3 day training for the bus drivers, 250 people, up to 250 people, and then the rest of the time it can be divided into 2 smaller training rooms and can be used for multiple uses. So that's where we are with the plan. Okay, and then the elevations, these are just 2 of the elevations. If you recall, I was just on the lower one, I was just talking about the south elevation, the main entrance into the building. The south elevation is the main entrance. So that's what you'll see from Ladder Road. And you'll see the, like I mentioned, the canopy, the vestibule on the right, and then the other entrance canopy on the left. So, and basically what it is brick you'll see on the front of the building. That's the darker color. And then there's also some split face block, and then metal panels is in the back of the building. And then on the upper elevation, that's the east elevation. This is the one where if you can think about the site, this is the driveway that goes onto the site for all the buses, employees, and so forth, going to the north. And so that's the elevation that you'll see from the driveway, okay? And so the front of the building is on the left, and that's all the brick and block. And then we have a block, what we call water table, a base to the building. And then the upper portion is all metal panels. So we haven't gotten into color or things like that yet, but we will be sometime soon. Okay. And now, so where we are now is the design development phase. So, we vetted the program. We're still working out some, things that we need to work through just to make sure everything fits correctly, everything flows right, and that we have everything in that the district, has desired and needs. So that's where we are right now. We're smack dab in the middle of that, and we'll be talking about the schedule soon, but we're developing the floor plans, elevations, wall sections, details. We have specifications. There's a number of things we're working with campus, obviously on the estimate, which I'm going to let George take through as well.
So as we progress with the DDs, the project team will identify prime contractors for scoping purposes. So we take the building, we break it down into components. So MEPs, mechanical, electrical, plumbing, general trades contractors, any specialties. So we start to identify who's going to be the main players, and then we start making phone calls to generate interest. The project team will provide DD estimates for, again, to understand the impact of the budget. So basically we take the drawings again, and once we identify metal panels, water tables, the components of the buildings, now that it's fully or more developed, then we can get a better understanding of what the cost of the structure is. So then we'll be providing a report to the district once we can vet that out and we get a little bit further in the design phase. Project team will provide a constructability review of the documents. So basically I take those drawings, and with my team internally, we break it down, we create a schedule. I actually create one to break it down. How am I going to build this? What are my durations? How long will it take? What are the pieces? When are the pieces going to come in? Basically, it's a puzzle, and we create the puzzle and just basically build it on paper. The project team will then plan out construction phases and progress to accommodate facilities. And basically what we do is we take the site plan, and then we figure out how to maintain your existing building, because that's still in operation, build a new building, where are we going to put the products when they come in, so the steel and basically a lay-down area, safety for all the drivers and basically the users. The annex building is going to be knocked down, and basically we have to relocate those people. We have to relocate the buses. We still have to figure out how to fuel the buses. So there are a lot of components and pieces that have to be figured out, and basically it's done on paper, and then we create a schedule, and we'll present those ideas to the district and basically vet it out. It's not a one-shot deal. It's going to take a little while because there are a lot of moving parts in this. It's such a nice big building, and again, I'm really blessed to be here to build this. I'm looking forward to it. So project schedule updates on 9 September 2019. That's when we project the DDs to be completed. So it's a milestone date, and basically the milestones are, for our use, progression of events to be able to submit to this SED, to SED. So November to December 2019 SED submission for the project documents. That triggers everything as far as getting the approvals. On 3/2020, we anticipate SED approvals on the project. And again, at this point, we're still breaking down the project. We're still breaking down the drawings and taking a look at them. In April 2020, bid period for the prime contractors. In May of 2020, we'll be presenting to the Board of Education the prime contractors and basically award of contracts. We plan on starting construction in 6/2020, June. and substantial completion in August of 2021. Final cost reporting in 12/2021. So that right now is our timeline for progression of events, again, to ensure that we start construction on 6/2020.
Questions? Anybody have any questions? Mr. Valsente?
Did I hear you right, then these floor plans are still subject to revision, or are these pretty much finalized?
They're final in the basic concept, you know, the footprint of the building and so forth, but we are still, yes, working through some minor adjustments within the departments to make sure that we have everything correctly, that works well with the equipment requirements and the furniture and flow.
And I assume that large transportation conference room isn't coated blue because it can be used by other departments? Was that why it probably wasn't specifically?
So I don't know if you want to answer the use of that, but basically it's used by multiple, you know,
Right,
for
so
multiple
that's-
reasons. For the
That's
training
why it
room.
can't be earmarked specifically for transportation, right? That big conference room?
Yeah, just to go back to your previous question, we sat down with all of the department heads, people in the departments, and they really don't have any concept as to what they're looking at on paper. So we get all of the information in writing, talk through it, put it down on paper, and then they say, oh, I see what that looks like now. So when we get to that point, things are changing. So we've gone through this about 3 times, as recently as today. So we're still tweaking those spaces. That's why it's a little bit dynamic. The spaces are in place, we're just kind of fine tuning things. As far as the use of the large conference room, was that what the question was?
No, only the color. The reason why it's not coded as specifically for transportation is because it can be used by other departments. That was the idea there.
Well, conversations with the state ed department were centered around that space. And obviously, the more space that we can clearly dedicate towards transportation, we get more in.
That's where I was going.
Right, so in fact, the transportation is the only space that's needed, so we're trying to maximize that. This is not the drawing that goes to the state. We actually have another color-coded drawing showing all of the space that we're designating as transportation. They've already told us they're not going to give us 100% of that space. We're still working on that angle with them. So we're trusting that we can do that. We've had a bunch of conversations, correspondence, back and forth with the project manager. I think where we left off is they were going to give us 75%.
Be close to 75% would be feasible on his transportation aid.
Yeah, I mean, the question they asked is, are these rooms only for the transportation? How can you say yes to that? It's not okay. So they understand that it was built primarily to hold these large training sessions. So we're still working that piece.
Thank you.
Mr. Sawicki?
So after you finish the SD stage, I guess any material concerns or deviations from the work that's been done previously, just material ones, I know there's small tweaks or anything, but anything the board should be aware of as you hit that stage?
I guess the one thing coming from our side would be the right sizing that Bergman talked about. We were looking at this at pre-referendum, and going into the vote, we were talking about a 60,000 square foot building, and we're up to 64,000 square foot. So that's the difference, really, what we saw. Based on we're still using the same square footages, and dollar values going to that stuff. So that'd be the one tweak that we saw change going through the schematic design phase.
Thank you.
Can I jump in?
Mr. Maloney? Oh, Dr. White, go ahead.
Do we anticipate getting the SED approval within 4 months? I know we've had problems in the past, but that said November 19, March 2020.
Yeah, SED recently has gone through some, I don't know what to call it, been working with them for 40 years, and their review time hasn't changed. They're turning projects around very quickly, 6 to 8 weeks. In some cases, even the mechanical sections that were 40 and 50 weeks before, we've got that way down to the point where we don't think we're going to have to go to the third party to pay a significant amount of money. So right now, we think we can go the standard review route and get this project through in 3 months.
Mr. Maloney?
I guess that's always my other follow-up question. is that August 2021 date for completion, is that aggressive, or is that to give you any time, or is that just a probable date that we might finish August of 2021?
You've never seen me build.
I haven't, but I'm going to.
Yes, you will. I'm looking forward to it. Our schedule is predicated upon the square footage of the building and the nuances of the building itself. So I feel that it's a comfortable duration. Yes, and you know, barring weather, we make other provisions. Last year, I was working on another transportation facility, and basically we really had not the greatest of weather. So you know, we work on different areas. We brainstorm and we figure out how to put it together, and that's why we're here. So.
So we're utilizing, so we just completed a transportation center at Fairport Central School District. It was occupied by the district beginning of June. Did something very similar here where we changed over the buildings from the existing and began demolition of that building. The other building's been demolished now. We're finishing off the site work.
So you're looking at the same timeline?
It's the same timeline. This building is obviously bigger in components of it, but it's also got more space to be able to do multiple different construction activities at the same time. So we're looking at utilizing and maximizing our time.
Any other questions? Thank you all very much for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us. Appreciate it.
4.02, safety plan presentation, Superintendent Grotman.
Yep, I'm gonna bring Mr. Chatterton up.
Dr.
Sorry, I almost made you a doctor. That's what happens when you work on those safety plans long enough. So Steve does this every year for us, gives us an update around the district safety plan, and will give us a sense of some of the other work that goes on at the building level.
Sure. All right, so good evening. Every year in July, I come in front of you. New York State mandates say we have to present our safety plan. And so as part of that, we do our safety review and updates. And I'm just gonna make sure. So just to go over some of the things we've been doing for years, we have 2 school resource officers, Officer Bachman and Officer Murray. They're full-time resource officers that work for us, that we actually pay their salaries, and they're assigned to schools every day. We have 35 security guards. Many of them are retired law enforcement officers like myself. My assistant's a retired lieutenant. He does all of our residency investigations. A couple of years ago, we gave the Greece police officers all of our swipe cards. So our swipe cards are owned by every police officer in the town of Greece. And we programmed our boxes so that even in a lockdown, they can get into our schools, so that we don't have to worry about them letting them in case there's an emergency. They also do random walkthroughs. They serve lunches and do community programs, and they have a whole community service division. So they're very active in our elementary schools. We just created a threat of violence. Well, we have threat of violence training, but we also have a threat assessment team now, which is part of best practices for all safe schools. We do active shooter training, tabletops, and we have all of our administrators go through the incident command system, which is how law enforcement responds to emergencies. So as you have been swearing in your new administrators, I've been emailing them the training they have to finish. We have district-wide communication. We're one of the only school districts in New York State that we can talk from Craig Hill all the way to transportation. We have our own radio network. We did a FEMA drill for 2 days over at Greece Olympia this week, and they were very impressed that in case of an emergency, we had our own systems that even would work in case of power outages or any problems like that. And then we have the Safe School Hotline for reporting. And we took about 30 tips this year, which includes 24/7 after hours, ranging from everything from threats of violence to like a whistleblower hotline that we kind of use it as that. And we also have a lot of threats of suicide. Physical upgrades, what we're planning on doing in the next upcoming year is upgrading the entrances. Lou Bianchi has gone to every school. We've walked through every school. We've redesigned the entrances. After Parkland will give us a double entrance. So basically, instead of coming in, showing your ID, or just bringing the buzzer and then just being let into the building, you'll be in a safe area where we can screen you further, and then you'll be buzzed through a second door. We're also doing some glass upgrades. It won't be bulletproof glass, but it'll be shatterproof glass. It's a film that goes on the outside of the building that would prevent somebody from just throwing something through the door and walking in. And then we're also upgrading our visitor management system, which we've been very happy with, but we're going to the latest version of it, which means reprogramming all of our users. So on a daily basis, we're doing that, and that'll be up and running the first day of school. Our camera upgrades, we're putting about a $1.8 million in new cameras into the schools. And those will also be, and all this is being done with Smart Bond money, so it's not being done with your budget. So, safety plan updates. So, as of yesterday, I was not going to upgrade our main safety plan. Our main safety plan was done last year. It's one of the only plans in the whole state that actually matches the template for mandated building level plans. Our building level plans are the ones that have all our confidential information in them. They are actually done. I just have to meet. I wrote them over the last week, so they're all done. So they will be presented to you, but they're not available to the public. They will be presented to you in an executive session. I'll make them all available to you next month. By law, they're actually not due till October 15th, which is ridiculous because school starts September 1st. All ours will be done September 1st. So why I say I was not going to make any plans yesterday. The state put out a mandate that if you have a school resource officer or private security, you have to have an MOU in place, and that has to be written into your safety plan that says that we are responsible for all school discipline. So yesterday I actually added that to our plan. It hasn't gone to print yet, so we actually got that notification at the right time. So that's the only plan, or the only change to our main safety plan is it says we're going to have an MOU. I called the chief of police, told the chief of police we're going to put it right in our school resource contract. So when we get our school resource contracts for this year, they're going to add a paragraph that says that they understand that all discipline is handled by the school. That is it. Questions on the main safety plan? Building plans you'll have next month. Good, thank you.
4.03, Code of Conduct presentation, Superintendent Groutman.
Yep, I'm going to have Dr. Payne come up, and I know that she's got some help. So Naomi, I looked at you and had to stop and think why you were here for a minute, other than just...
She missed us.
Yes. But I'm just going to take just a second to give you a shout out. So Naomi is a student from Olympia who graduated this year, who's on her way to college on August 15th, I think it's coming up. Was kind enough to actually serve on this committee throughout the year, give her input, give her feedback in a number of ways. She did that for Code of Conduct, but she also was an exemplary student just in general at Olympia and served on my student leadership team as superintendent. So just an awesome, awesome person who's going to go on and do great things. And I thank you for being here, Naomi, in the middle of summer when I know you are working 2 jobs and also getting ready for school. So I appreciate you being here. And Dr. Payne, I'll let you take it away in terms of giving us the updates of the Code of Conduct, and I know you're going to ask for her help.
I certainly will. So again, I also want to echo what Superintendent Groutman says about Naomi coming out this evening. So Code of Conduct, just like Steve does the safety updates every July, I also come before you and give you the updates on the Code of Conduct. So why do we have the Code of Conduct? The Code of Conduct applies to all students, our district personnel, our parents, guardians, any visitors when they're on school property, when they're on our buses, attending school events, or any activities, including sporting events. Our hope is that the implementation of the Code of Conduct will help to improve our student behavior and safeguard our schools. So what is the process for the Code of Conduct? The development and the maintenance of the Code of Conduct is the charge of our Code of Conduct Committee, and we review it every single year, and then we bring it forward to the Board of Education in the summer for the implementation, for the approval, and for the implementation for the upcoming school year. So who sits on this Code of Conduct Committee? The committee currently is comprised of we've had between 25 to 27 members this year. Our committee has actually grown. We have 2 board members. We have Sean McCabe and Dr. White that sit on the committee. The committee is made up of district and building administrators. We have Steve Chatterton, our Director of School Safety and Security. We have teachers, teacher leaders, social workers, counselors, psychologists, students, and parents. And our committee meets 4 times a year. Once in a while, we kind of throw around the idea of, are we going to get together and have to meet for a 5th time? But we were very happy this year that we were able to wrap things up with 4 meetings. So what exciting changes to the committee occurred this year? Every year, the committee comes together, and it's an ongoing process where we're always seeking feedback. We have various stakeholders that sit on the committee so that we can be in the schools, in the community, hearing things that are being said, excuse me, about our code of conduct. And then we get together and we meet in real time to basically get updates. So for example, last year we had implemented the cell phone policy, if you remember, and that was one of the things that we talked about and we monitored early in the school year as how that was going. So those are some of the things that we do. But anyways, we do that and then we make amendments and updates to the code of conduct, and we seek feedback from various stakeholders. This year, we actually were looking for student voice and for teacher voice through the Thought Exchange platform, and this was something that we used, we piloted, and it was just a very interesting way to be able to use a social media platform to be able to, you know, throw out information and get some ideas around what our students were thinking about our dress code in particular as it stands in our code of conduct. So that was really interesting in getting that feedback. So as far as our code of conduct goes, there are not a whole lot of changes for this year. One of the things that we really did was our focus primarily this year was looking at our student dress code. That was the big charge that we did. And we started really with anchoring into what our beliefs and what our philosophies were around our dress code. We reviewed various dress codes from across the country as we made some recommendations for changes. But as you look through as you look through our code of conduct, you'll see that it's very similar to the 1819 code of conduct. Some of the things that are different is we updated information like the committee members. We clarified some language, whereas we are always reviewing our code of conduct and seeing things that we need to tweak a little bit. Updated a few of our disciplinary categories and some of the reporting pieces that we need to do to the state. But again, as I said, we really, I would say the large majority of our time this year was focusing on our dress code. One of the things that we were charged to do with our equity work and our work with NYU TAC D with disproportionality, we were really charged to take a look at our dress code through the lens of equity and making sure that it was very inclusive. So that was really the focus of our work. And also we've been working on including more restorative language in this as well. And then the big thing that we were super excited about this year that Superintendent Groutman said was that we've had some student voice, and that was super, super powerful. So I really do appreciate Naomi coming this evening, the student voice that we had on there. And with that said, I'm going to now show you a little bit of a video that was created that really highlights some of the recommendations through the voice of the kids.
The Greeley Central School District has established one student dress code to foster equity and ensure consistent enforcement in all schools. Approved annually as part of the district's code of conduct, the student dress code has been updated for the 2019-20 school year in accordance with our strategic plan goals and district priorities. The new version is written in a manner that does not reinforce stereotypes. It promotes acceptance and the social-emotional well-being of students and aims to remove unnecessary barriers to daily school attendance.
Some kids will argue like, well, you can't tell me what I can and can't wear. This is my clothes. I bought them. You did not, or such and stuff. But it's like, okay, but you know the dress code, and if you cannot change or if you don't put on these type of clothes that they offer you, then you need to go home, because they'll think it's absurd and obscene that you should be wearing such things. So that takes away time and education from the student, because we're being sent home for something so small as what we're wearing.
The District Code of Conduct Committee reviewed referral data for dress code violations and also surveyed some current students before recommending revisions. Generally speaking, the revised dress code is less restrictive. Previously considered a school-based or grade-level decision, the Code of Conduct now permits students, regardless of what school they attend, to carry a backpack, purse, or bag with them from class to class.
I feel like every age group at our school should have them. I feel like it's no different from walking around a college campus. You have to get from point A to point B and then from point B to point C. And instead of going all the way back to point A, it's convenient that you have things. And we have emergencies sometimes, and you need to carry things, so your backpack being right in your classroom makes everything a lot easier for everyone.
Hats and head coverings of any kind were a violation of the previous dress code except when worn for religious purposes. But there's more than one reason to allow hats in school. Let Cameron, one of our Code of Conduct Committee student reps, explain.
There's a lot of backlash that kids can face by other kids just by how their hair is done one day or the next. So I feel as if either a boy or a girl should have the right to have a hat or do-rag or bonnet, wherever the case may be, to cover their hair if they don't feel like it's that type of day for them.
The new dress code is meant to minimize reasons for conflict and allow students to come as they are. Previously banned clothing items like tank tops, shorts of varying lengths, and outerwear are now permitted. Students say lessening restrictions promote self-expression at a time in life when a lot of things seem to be beyond their control.
Clothing is a way to express yourself. It's a way to show who you are. And for students like me that are part of the LGBT community, it's already hard enough for us to express who we are. It's already hard enough to accept and find who we are. Then I come to school and it's like, you can't wear a crop top, you can't wear lace, you can't wear a hat. And it's like, that's me trying to express myself. You're taking away that last part of my identity that I can control, because in a way, fashion is the only thing I have left that I can control. I can't control my religion, I can't control my sexuality.
The new dress code still requires students to refrain from wearing anything defamatory, harassing, dangerous, or promoting illegal activity. Students also have to keep their ears and eyes visible, so no hoodies with the hoods up or sunglasses. Those limitations seem reasonable to students who agree that the new dress code may improve student and staff interactions.
You're allowing them to have a chance at showing that they can go through school years and actually show that they can self-regulate themselves, dress appropriately, and focus on the schoolwork, and not have to feel as if it's a burden for them to dress a certain way when that might be the only clothing that they have available.
The revised dress code applies to all Greece schools as well as school-related activities. Failure to comply with the student dress code should be enforced consistently with comparable behavior and conduct violations. Therefore, first offenses will fall into the Level 1 discipline category. Repeated offenses escalate to Level 2.
What you first see when you see a person is what they're wearing, and it's their form of self-expression. And if we want to be culturally and socially forward at all and have any relationship with our students and understanding with the times that our students are going through, I think allowing a dress code as permissive as this one will get us one step closer to having a better relationship between staff and students.
Just a few final points. You know, it's funny because we have an attendance campaign and we want to be sure that our kids are in seats and learning. And so we don't want kids not to be coming to school because they're having a bad hair day. We don't want our teachers to have to be monitoring what kids are wearing. They should be in class learning. And then finally, I was thinking about it this evening in just getting ready for work myself this morning. I can tell you how we dress in the workplace is different than it was 10 years ago. I can tell you in the summer, 10 years ago, if I was standing before the Board of Education doing a presentation, I would be in a suit. And I would be sweating right now. I wouldn't be comfortable, and like self-expression, I like to wear color. I like to, wear something lightweight in the summertime. And so, we dress like this. And so I think that we will continue to model for our kids and appropriate and responsible dress. But this dress code is very progressive, and we're really, really excited to bring this before you this evening. Questions?
Vice President Millar.
Well, I have a comment. First of all, thank you for your hard work. I heard throughout the year it was a challenging committee. I love the video. The video makes it so clear, and it appeals to not only adults but children, and I hope everyone gets to see it.
That's a good point, Terry, and actually what we're going to be doing is, once the board does adopt this code of conduct, we're going to be putting it on the website, the video, and also making it available for schools so that they could use it for opening. In addition, we're going to be sending home an opening of school sort of mailing that's going to go out, that's going to highlight what the changes are to the code of conduct.
Wonderful.
Mr. Belzante?
Okay. About how many dress code violations will this prevent from happening compared to previous years?
So that's a good question. We were actually kind of surprised because, first of all, we collected a lot of data on this and we listened to student voice. But one of the things that we were concerned was consistency with how the dress code, with that particular, the dress code is being implemented, number one. But when we really analyzed the data, there were 10 dress code violations. So what that really spoke to, there was a whole lot of looking the other way around how students are dressing already. So that was one thing that really kind of surprised us. But it also surprised us, well, I don't know if it surprised us, but there were more violations for males than there were for females. So again, how that consistently is being implemented, or how uncomfortable people may be in monitoring what students are wearing and having conversations around that.
And one thing to build on that, what we heard back from our principals and APs as well was that a lot of it would escalate to insubordination.
Yep.
So it would become that cycle of conflict, so they would comment on somebody's dress, and instead of writing the referral for dress code violation, it would become an insubordination. But something I really want to highlight is that student voice in this process. The thought exchange was a fabulous tool. As a committee, we hadn't even, book bags weren't even on our radar. It wasn't even a topic that had come up. And that was the number one thing that came back from kids was, can I just carry my book bag? Yeah, that's an easy change. We can help you all with that. So I just think the value on student voice I was very proud of this year on the committee.
Any other comments?
Any good questions?
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Moving on, item 5.01, can somebody move the following? Be it resolved, the Board of Education of East Central School District authorizes district administration to initiate the following budget transfers through June 2019. Can somebody move that, please? Moved by Dr. White, seconded by Mr. Swicky. Comments, questions, or concerns? Seeing none, all those in favor? That passes 7-0. Moving on, can I have somebody move the following? Be it resolved, Board of Education of East Central School District approves the May 2019 Treasurer's Report. Moved by Vice President Lar, seconded by Mr. Valcente. Any comments, questions, or concerns? Seeing none, all those in favor? That passes 7-0. Item 5.03, can I have somebody move the following, please? Be it resolved, the Board of Education of East Central School District approves the list of professional service contracts over $50,000 for the 2018-19 fiscal year. Can I have somebody move that to the table, please? Moved by Dr. White, seconded by Mr. Valcente. Any comments, questions, or concerns on that? Seeing none, all those in favor? That passes 7-0. Can I have somebody move the following, please? Be it resolved, the Board of Education of East Central School District approves the extra classroom activity funds quarterly report as of June 30th, 2019 preliminary. Can I have somebody move that? Mr. Valcente, seconded by Mr. LaPlaca. Any comments, questions, concerns on that? Seeing none, all those in favor? That passes 7-0. Can I have somebody move the following, please? Be it resolved, Board of Education of East Central School District approves the proposed court-ordered tax tertiary settlement for WRS Grease Associates, also known as the Home Depot, for the 2018 tax year, and a refund in the amount of $101,344.65 to be paid by the district. Can I somebody move that to the table, please? Moved by Mr. Valcente, seconded by Mr. LaPlaca. Any comments, questions, or concerns on that? Mr. Valcente? There's questions galore.
Well, I just want to ask, just to have everyone, if we all on the same page, we do have a reserve that covers this, right?
That is correct.
And the fact that the judge has already signed this order means whatever we vote tonight doesn't really matter, right?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Unless you want to go to jail. Mr. Swicky? That was yours.
All set.
Sorry. Mr. Maloney?
The only question I have is, we've had this in the past happen also, but who is doing the appraisal on this? Because this doesn't only affect our tax base, it affects the towns also.
Basically, I've seen both parties have independent appraisals done, and then the judge determines, based on comparables, where in the appraisal range the property's gonna fall. So it's usually been two. independent of each other, and then the judge decides.
Any other questions or comments? All those in favor? That passes. All those in favor? 2, 3, 4, 5. It's gonna 5. Those against? Opposed? 2. 5 to 2. So it passes 5 to 2. All right, moving on. 6.01 quarterly reporting of service contracts greater than $20,000 but less than $50,000. It's written information only. Does anybody have any questions? Seeing none, all those in favor? There's no questions, so there's no reason to be in favor. All right, just let me have my little stroke in peace. 6.02 budget status report. It's written information only. Does anybody have any questions on that? Seeing none, moving on. And 6.03 anticipated bids. There's none, so I'm assuming there's no questions there. So moving on. Can I have somebody move the consent agenda, please, to the table? Moved by Mr. Maloney, seconded by Mr. Swick. Any comments, questions, or concerns on the consent agenda? Seeing none, I would just like to thank the extra classroom activity fund from Arcadia High School for the donations they made to various programs at their school. The Odyssey extra classroom activity fund, the Olympia extra classroom activity fund, the Athena Middle School extra classroom fund, and the American Heart Association for various programs at Lakeshore.
I'm sorry, we're here to address the transportation waiver bid.
Yeah, that's not gonna happen. It's not a meeting for the public where you can sign up for a public comment next month at our meeting and you can have a comment.
We're from the company.
Oh, that's fine, but there's public comment happens at our next meeting. There's no public comment tonight from anybody.
We're not being allowed to address the board.
No.
Not
Nope,
until the first meeting of the month.
You can address us at the first meeting of the month, or you can we'd be happy to have you send a letter or an email to us, and we'll go from there. All right, very good. If you'd see my board clerk if you'd like to sign up for our next meeting, and she'll get you signed up, and you'll have 5 minutes to speak at the start of the next meeting. All right, moving on to program action, the professional development plan. Item 8.01, can I have Sonny move the adoption of professional development plan to the table, please? Moved by Vice President Moore, second by Mr. Valcente. Does anybody have any comments, questions, or concerns on that? Seeing none, all's in favor? That passes 7-0. And 10.01, Board of Education Award discussion. I'll start this off. You have the information before you. I had a discussion with Kathy late in the spring, towards the end of the school year. The Greece Police Department have been a director of security chatter and hit on it a little bit with what they're doing in our schools. They're so involved in what we do as a school district and so many different levels, and they've bought in to what we're doing as a school district. So I had a discussion with Kathy, and I'd like to bring before the board that we award our Board of Education Award to the Greece Police Department for the services they provide, for the assistance they've given us as a school district, our students, our staff, along those lines. So I'm open for discussion if we want to have a discussion, or I can make a motion that we award I'll put it in the form of a motion. We're going to live on the edge. I'm going to put it in the form of a motion that we award our Board of Education Award to the Greece Police Department, and we will recognize them at our business meeting in September. Can I get a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Vice President Moore. Now we can have some discussion on it. Anybody would like to add or make comment? Dr. White.
I'm in full support. I don't think I've ever heard of a police department with this much buy-in, not just to monitor and watch students in schools, but to support. I mean, they're there serving our kids breakfast. They're there playing games. The community that they've built with us and the partnership we have. 2 thumbs way up.
Vice President Moore.
Yeah, thoroughly agree. It is amazing to see them in all the buildings. The children know them by name. And bowling with kids, buying them things, it's fantastic. And having worked in a building when we've had a police officer there, they become a contact for children, which is really important. And they also hear things and they know what's going on, and that helps their job too. So I think it's a great idea.
Do you want to comment? Nobody else has any comment? Oh, Mr. Maloney, go ahead.
I'd just like to say Steve and his staff too have done an outstanding job communicating back and forth with the Greece Police Department, and a lot of things, good things have happened.
And the only other comment I'm gonna make, so we can wrap this up, is that our police department, I mean, following social media and being involved in the first responder community in the state, there's no department involved with the school district like the Greece Police Department is involved in our school district. I think it says a lot about the relationships we've built with the police department through Steve, through Kathy, through the board, and through our staff and students. I think it's a tremendous asset that we have them. I mean, several years ago when I first got on board, we were talking about doing away with the partnership with the Greece Police Department, and I think we're in such a positive place, and they're such outstanding role models for our students and for our staff and for everybody else that I think it's well deserved and well warranted that we recognize them at our September meeting. So with that, all those in favor? That passes 7-0. And moving along to a meeting adjourned. Can I get a motion to adjourn the meeting? Dr. White, Mr. Maloney, all those in favor? Thank you, everyone. Have a good evening.
We're trying to make that.